Ad hoc committee has recommended that Advocate Kholeka Gcaleka be made the country's next public protector. The body today announced its preferred candidate. Gcaleka has been acting in the position since Advocate Mkobane's suspension. The report nominating Gcaleka will be sent to members of parliament for consideration, where 60% of the vote is required for its adoption. Total of 8 candidates were interviewed for the post, which begins in mid-October. The DA, EFF, and Freedom Front Plus were among the parties that didn't back Gcaleka. Right, let's speak now to the ad hoc committee chair, Cyril Xaba, who's joining us during load shedding. But Mlocha, will make it work. You seem to be having enough light, at least where you are. Good evening, and thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, and thank you very much for welcoming me.
There seems to be very little agreement around what the requirements need to be that must be fulfilled in order for one at least to be nominated and be put forward. Why is there that disconnect?
No, there is no disagreement because the qualification criteria is laid out in the Act, the founding legislation. It stipulates what type of what qualifications must we look at, and that was published, and the public is aware when they was made aware when they were doing the nomination. And what it says it must be a suitably qualified person who is fit and proper. So the committee then had to look at what do you mean by a fit and proper person, and that is not defined anywhere, but we found assistance in some case law, and from there we then developed a selection criteria that specifies the qualities that we are looking at. For example, in fact, those qualities can be grouped into 4 categories, the main categories. On character, we're looking at dignity, independence, a person who has demonstrated ability to function without fear, prejudice or favor. And the second category was on experience, the third category on skills, and then the fourth category was on character, experience, skills, and I'm looking for the fourth one, knowledge. So all candidates had varying degrees of these qualities and let me say strengths they were looking for. And we had 38 candidates who shortlisted to 8, and from 8 to 3, and from 3 to 1. We were all in agreement from 38 to 8 and from 8 to 3. We only differed when it came to selecting Kholeka Gcaleka. The argument was that there was a cloud hanging over her head, but there is no disagreement as to her suitability and that she is a fit and proper person. Yes.
So across all parties, I mean, the DA said none of the candidates are fit for position. None of them. In fact, they are even suggesting that the post be re-advertised. So was it just the Democratic Alliance that didn't find even the 3 to be suitable? Certainly the EFF questioning the Advocate Gcaleka, who is the Deputy Public Protector currently acting, of character questions. So there could have been a question mark around her character.
Well, yes, you are right. But if you look at the steps that in the process, from 38 to 8, we were unanimous. And from 8 to 3, we are unanimous. And the disagreement arose when we got to selecting one candidate, because we had to recommend one candidate. And it so happened that Advocate Gcaleka was the most suitable person for the post. And of course, the allegations that are leveled against her are yet to be tested in court. And I think they are based largely on the report on Phala Phala. And so it's not enough to say there's a cloud hanging over someone's head and you do nothing about it. And you must create a platform where you make it possible for the person that is being accused to defend herself, and that has not happened. Yeah. So we can't then cling to this thing, to the allegation, and we do nothing about it.
My observation, Mlotshwa, is that shouldn't we be having a process where we all know how the scoring is done? Because currently we are sitting in a situation where it's political parties behind the scenes who would have scored her differently, and now they are coming forward to dispute and bicker about it. Isn't there a way of having a definite process of scoring where even the public can see why you would choose this particular candidate over another, and there is no question around it of cadre deployment or the ANC using its majority to bulldoze a particular candidate into a position?
Look, remember, we did not have set questions, but we're clear that our questions will be in all these areas that I've just mentioned. And so in that way, it would be difficult to do scoring. But on the basis of how people responded to the questions, and we decided on the candidates from day 8 to 8, and from 8 to 3, and from 3 to 1. So in other words, there's no dispute because we're using the same selection criteria when we move from 38 to 8. So, and then from 8 to 3. So, and that was in full view of the public. The exercise was transparent, open, and fair. And I must say that none of the members who were in that committee came with, the names of the candidates. The process that we were engaged in was derived from the public participation process. The names came through that process. It's the public that gave us the names, but we needed one person. So we had to have a selection criteria that would assist us to get to that one person. So there was no disagreement on that. The only argument from the parties that you've just mentioned is that on the basis of Phala Phala, and they think that there's a cloud hanging overhead, but they're not doing anything about it because when you are not happy with the report of the public protector, you must take it on review. Go and argue in court and say, what is it that you are not happy with it? You can't come around here and say, I'm not happy, and do nothing about it. So that's where the argument is. We can't, because if it happens, then people will be condemned for life, and they will never have an opportunity to defend themselves.
So how much weight do you then put on this question of character? Because if you would have looked at your list of 8 candidates, by and large, most of them are advocates. So in terms of knowledge, you would say they have a fair degree of knowledge around the law. It can be argued as to what extent each one would have. In terms of skill, most of them would have occupied a particular leadership position at some key institutions, including institutions like the Human Rights Commission and so on and so forth. So what would have been the determining factor that made the candidacy of Advocate Kholeka Gcaleka to weigh a little bit more than the others?
Well, we look at how you interview. If you interview well and you are prepared and you are able to answer all the questions satisfactorily, and then you'll be scored favorably.
Lodge, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing that with us. That is the chairperson of the ad hoc committee that was tasked with, of course, nominating the next public protector.